Okay, this video is for my Tech Ed 1 3A class. This video is going to focus in on taking Block A and Block 60 and actually putting them together. So we're going to actually do an assembly here with those two blocks. The videos for these two blocks already have been done. They're on the YouTube channel, so use those to get those two parts and drawings done and submitted. This will actually touch into how to put them together and put them onto a drawing. And specifically what I'm going to be trying to do is make it look like this one right here, which is under the block, this should say Block A and White Block Assembly or White 60 Assembly. That is actually going to be this file right here. Okay, so what we're going to be trying to do here is we are going to try to create this block on top of this block. Okay, and that's called an assembly. Taking two pieces and putting them together. It could be more than two pieces, obviously. But what we're going to do now is we're going to start by going into SOLIDWORKS, and we're going to start by doing a file new. Now it's really important to understand that SOLIDWORKS templates does not have an assembly template. Okay, we don't have anything in here for assemblies. These are only for parts and drawings. So you need to go to a tab called Tutorial. You should see it in your folders there. You're going to have to hit the word Assembly or Assemb and hit OK. Now when this opens, it's going to be looking for the part. So now it automatically opens to the last thing you've basically the folder you've been working from. I've been working from downloads. Obviously you can see I've been downloading people's parts, downloading stuff, and printing and grading. I actually have my parts stored in my H drive, in my Tech Ed 1 folder. I'm going to open up with Block A first. I'm going to left click on it and then hit Open. Now this block is going to be pretty straightforward. I'm just going to find it somewhere out here on the screen. I'm just going to left click and put it into its spot. Okay, so this first block is where it needs to be. It's just sitting there in space. What I'm going to do next is I need to go to this tab up here called Assembly. This gets added in when you start a new assembly. It's a new tab that gets created. When I left click on this, I need to insert another component. So I'm going to left click on this button here called Insert Components. And again, I need to browse for it. Now the good news is as soon as you open or insert, it's going to open the previous folder that you were pulling from. So in this case, that works out well because there is my block 60 right here. I'm going to left click on that block. I'm going to say Open. Now I'm going to basically place this somewhere above this. So I'm going to back this up and just kind of place it or eyeball it above. Okay? And left click. Now it's important to understand this part I can move anywhere I want. It's just kind of like the three-dimensional model in a drawing. This one is fixed in space. Okay? So the only one that can really move or do anything is White Block 60 right here. Now what I want to do is I'm going to flip this thing over so it's on the other side so these pegs are down and lined up with these two holes. To do that, I need to rotate this part over. Okay? The way you have to do that in an assembly is up here where it says Move Component on the top bar, drop the arrow down, and go to Rotate Component. Now all you have to do is left click anywhere on this part, hold your mouse button down, and begin to rotate. So you're going to have to kind of move your mouse around. Okay, and it takes a little bit of practice, but as long as you get it somewhat flipped over so that the pegs are basically facing towards the holes and these two legs are facing towards the back, you are good to go. So that's good enough right there. To turn the tool off, just like we've done before, I'm going to hit Escape. Now what I need to do from here is I need to take that peg and line it up with that hole. To do that, we have to go there and go to Mate, right here. Okay, Mate. It's very similar to the relationships that we've been using, and I know you haven't been talking about much about those, but this ties into some of the sketching we've done. All right. I'm going to mate the outside of this peg. So all I'm going to do is put my cursor on there and left click. Okay, the peg goes blue. I want that outside edge of the peg or face of the peg to line up with the inside face of this hole. So I'm going to left click. Okay, now what it does, it automatically lined that up in the holes. You can see in slow motion here, it's going perfectly into that hole. All right. Now the problem is it's still spinning. It's not quite where it needs to be because we need to do the same thing with this peg over here. So I'm going to click on this peg here and click on the inside of this hole. So now that this peg also lines up with its hole. So now if I were to move this part, I'm just left clicking and dragging. Okay, you can see I can't rotate it, but now the pegs are perfectly aligned to the holes. This is called concentric, where the centers are lined up. Now, the last part of this is I need this face of this block right here to be glued to this face around the peg. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this face here so it turns blue. I'm rotating over by holding my middle mouse button down. And I'm going to hit this face right here. So what the computer will do, or SOLIDWORKS will do, is will automatically make these two coincident, what I like to think of as actually gluing them together. So I'm going to glue them together. Okay. Now at this point, this thing cannot move anymore. Either can this block. It can't rotate. It's perfectly fixed where it needs to be. So at this point of the assembly, we are done. Okay. I'm going to hit my check mark, space bar. I'm going to go ahead and do my isometric view here, pull this over, turn that box off, go to isometric view. Okay. Now, I need to save this. So I'm going to do a quick Control S for save. I'm going to save it in my TechEd1 folder. I'm going to save it as block A underscore block 60 assembly. And hit save. You have to save it before you can put it into a drawing. Okay, that's very important. Now, from here, all I'm going to do is I'm going to do another File, New. We're going to now go back to our SOLIDWORKS Templates tab. And since this was done in inches, we are going to open up a GHSA inch fraction and say OK. Now, over here where it says Open Documents, I'm going to double click. Just like we've done in the past, I'm going to start with a front view, make sure my preview's on, and then I have hidden lines visible. I'm going to start by also making this at a 1:1 scale, so I'll go Custom Scale, 1:1, and this should be very familiar for the other parts we've already done. I'm going to start by dropping this in the left-hand corner, pull straight up, left-click, pull to my right, left-click, and then pull up at a diagonal and left-click. I'm going to hit Escape to deactivate the tool. Now with this first one up here, I'm going to go ahead and left-click on this and change it to a color. And I'm going to change the scale from 1:1 to 1:2. I'd also like to highlight and get rid of any extra black lines that should not be there. So I'm going to highlight these little lines here and hit my Delete key. Okay, so now I'm going to put on some dimensions. So I'm going to look at my drawing one more time here. I see that I need to have some dimensions on here and a title. And I'm going to slide this over to my other screen for a second so I can see this. I'm going to turn on my Smart Dimension tool and begin adding some dimensions. So I'm going to start from this left-hand side to this line right here and get my 3/4 inch. I'm going to hit the little dot at the back of the arrow to get it in. Okay, get the arrows in. From this side here to this side here, I'm going to pull up, left-click. From the far left here to the far right, pull up. From this line here to this line up here, I'm going to pull to my right. And then from the very top to the very bottom, I'm going to pull again out to my right. I'm going to come up to the top, and I'm going to click here and hit this right-hand line and click here. Okay. You'll notice also in our drawing over here on our PDF file, let me bring that back over, you'll notice we have these little plus signs in here. We need to add those in. Those are called center marks. Okay, so I'm going to pull this back over. To do a center mark, all I have to do is go to my annotation toolbar and hit this little symbol right here. When you turn it on, all you have to do is just click on the outside edge of each circle and left click, and then hit your check mark. Now, last things we got to do here, we need to go in here and change our title block. Caps lock on, first initial, last name. SOLIDWORKS drawing, we're just going to put here block A and symbol, block 60 assembly. Oh, gotta learn how to spell. Better typing. Assembly. Okay. I'm going to adjust this title by just dragging a little bit. The date, 11/30, 20. Period 3A, scale 1 to 1. Okay. Last thing we need to do is also add in a title right here. So I'm going to go to my note tool, left click, change the font size to 12, bold, underline, and centered, caps lock on. Block A and block 60 assembly. Enter. Take your bold and underline off. Scale 1 equals 2. Click outside and hit escape. Okay. Now, at this point here, I want you to do Control S. Yes to update the views before you save. Go ahead and save it as you see into your folder. And then finish by uploading this into Schoology, and this part will now be done. If you have any questions, go ahead and use this video. You can pause, rewind, do what you need to do. Otherwise, you can reach out to me through email. Otherwise, good luck.